What's going on, guys? Magnolia Mo here, and welcome back to my channel. So I finally hooked up my McIntosh and the Marantz to the Pioneer Elite VSX-LX505, and I ran into a snag. So let's go back to January 28th when I started to make this video with the intention that it's going to be a simple connection, and then I can run direct and go from there. Alright, so let's get on with it. Today is the day when I connect my Pioneer VSX-LX505 to my two power amplifiers using the RCA pre-outs. You see the Pioneer up top, the Marantz MM7055 in the middle there, and the McIntosh MC8207 7-channel amplifier down below. I already have the RCA connected into the Pioneer. I have the speaker wire and the cables laid out. I'm gonna actually do all of this in front of you guys so you can follow along. Because the McIntosh does not have RCA inputs, it only has XLR inputs, I had to buy XLR to RCA cables from Amazon. This is the monoprice XLR to RCA cable that I got. It retails, or it's on Amazon for $15.98, and I just got one for the center speaker, and then I got these other ones from Amazon. These are the Joel-Gu RCA to XLR cables. These retail for $16.99 a pair, and basically I needed to get 3 pairs of those for my front surrounds and for my surround backs, and then for the center, obviously I got the monoprice one. So I'm gonna start with the center first. So I'll connect the center into the XLR in of the McIntosh right there, and then next I'm gonna connect the front left and the front right. Next I'm going to connect the surrounds. So here's the left surround XLR, and here's the right surround XLR. And then the last two, which are the surround backs. Then I'll connect the IR trigger into the McIntosh from the Pioneer. This is so that I can turn on the McIntosh when I turn on the Pioneer. So now we are going to connect the speaker wire. Alright, so here's the front left. This is the surround back right. Surround back left. Center. Front right. Surround left. And surround right. And there you have it. So all of the bass level speakers are connected. I got the XLRs going into the McIntosh. I got the IR trigger going into the McIntosh. Alright, so now let's connect the Marantz, the height speakers, into the Marantz using just straight RCA to RCA. Alright, the top, front, left and right pre-out from the Pioneer into channel 1 and channel 2 of the Marantz, and then the height 2. These would be the top, rear, left and right. Channel 3 and channel 4. Again, don't forget the IR trigger. That's important, so that the Marantz also turns on when I turn on the Pioneer. Now let's connect the speakers. This is the top front left, top front right, top rear right, and top rear left. And we are done. And here we have it. We got the Pioneer, the Marantz, and the McIntosh all set and ready to go. So I did all of that, connected, made all the connections using the RCA to XLR cables. And before running Dirac, I just wanted to make sure everything is connected properly, and all the speakers, and all the speaker wires were in the right terminals. And as soon as I turned on the Pioneer, which then turned on the Marantz and the McIntosh with the IR trigger, as soon as the Apple TV source came on, I started to hear a buzzing sound, okay? And it's not just a buzzing, meaning it was loud enough for me to hear it in my main listening position. So it wasn't like I had to put my ear to it. It was loud, and I got really confused as to what was happening, right? And what I did was I increased the volume and I decreased the volume, and the sound would be at the same level. And it's just like a constant buzzing, and it got very annoying because if I'm watching a movie as a test, for instance, during the quiet passages, you can hear that pretty loudly, right? So I disconnected everything, right? Actually, before that, I also then pressed the mute button, right? And when I pressed the mute button, it would go away, right? So I figured it's not a ground loop, because ground loop is around 60 hertz. So this was like in the high frequencies, it was like I said, it was like a staticky buzzing sound, right? And it would go away when I would hit the mute button. So I disconnected everything. My original intention was to use these XLR to RCA connectors, right? Because I already have nice AudioQuest balanced XLR cables running into the McIntosh and into the Marantz, right? But as you can see, these are pretty thick. So if you put two of these together, there's no way I'm gonna get those into the pre-outs on the Pioneer. So I scrapped that idea, right? And that's why I got those balanced XLR to RCA jacks, because I could easily connect those. So that buzzing sound then made me think maybe it's the cables, right? So then I went on Amazon and I ordered these. So this is an XLR, right, to an RCA, but it's basically an extension, right? So I can then now plug in the RCA into this particular connector. So I tried that, right? So that made it even worse. So I started to hear that sound and got pretty loud. So I scrapped that idea. Then I turned off the McIntosh, right? And the Marantz, which was powering my heights, right? Technically speaking, I shouldn't be getting any sound out of my bed layer speakers, right? Because I turned off the McIntosh. Guess what? The buzzing sound was still coming from the speakers, even though the McIntosh was off. That led me to believe that it's the pre-outs, because they're so close to each other. I thought, or I was thinking, my thought process was that the RCAs were so close, right, that it's creating this interference, right? And that was what was causing the buzzing sound. So I took the Marantz out of the equation, and what I did was I connected the heights directly into the Pioneer and the bed layer speakers into the McIntosh, using the same RCA to XLR connectors. And guess what? That buzzing sound almost disappeared, okay? Almost. When I say almost, now I have to put my ear to the speakers and I can hear. It's not a buzzing sound anymore. It's just a sound that's there when the speakers are running. So if I hit the mute, then that staticky sound goes away. So So I have to believe that the pre-outs on the Pioneer are noisy. Either that, or there's something going on with the gain on the McIntosh, right? Versus the output voltage of the Pioneer. So the rated RCA output level, right, of the Pioneer pre-outs is 1 volt RMS. The McIntosh 8207, the voltage gain is 29 dBs, and the input sensitivity for rated output power, right, which is 200 watts into 4 or 8 ohms, it's 2 volt balanced with a 4 ohm loudspeaker and 2.8 volt balanced with an 8 ohm loudspeaker. And then the Marantz 7055 has an input sensitivity of 1.2 volt for the unbalanced input. So if you put this all together, the Pioneer should not have any issues driving the Marantz MM7055 because its rated pre-out voltage is 1 volt RMS. The input sensitivity on the Marantz is 1.2 volts, right? So there shouldn't be a problem there. But the Pioneer Elite does not have the voltage to drive the McIntosh, and I think that's why I'm getting that low level, sound, that buzz coming from the speakers. Now, what's perplexing is why does that sound get louder when the Marantz is hooked up to the height pre-outs of the Pioneer, right? Because that's the confusing thing to me, because when I took out the Marantz, right, and I just plugged in the height speakers into the Pioneer, and then the McIntosh is just driving the bass speakers, right, that buzzing sound drops to a very minimal sound, which is negligible. I had to put my ear to the speakers to actually hear that little bit of staticky sound that's coming in, right? So that's the confusing part, which I don't know the answer to because I don't have the equipment to test it. But I have to believe it's the RCA outputs, and if I was to guess, it's the Zone 2 pre-out, which if you look at the Pioneer's manual, the Zone 2 pre-out, it does say 1 volt, but 2.2 kilo ohms versus the regular pre-outs, which are 1 volt, 470 ohms. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but that could be the driving force into producing that louder buzzing sound. So this will be my last video on the Pioneer, essentially. Okay, and what my takeaways or what my final thought about this receiver is, if you're going to drive your speakers just using the Pioneer, right, and maybe a 2-channel amplifier to drive your back surrounds, right, for a full 11.1 setup, it's perfect. The sound is great. The sound is awesome, right? But if you're going to use the pre-outs to external amplification for all 11 speakers, you have to make sure your amp and the Pioneer are compatible from an input sensitivity and the output voltage that's on the Pioneer, right? Clearly it cannot drive the McIntosh that I have, right? So I kind of regret buying it now, and I wish I had done this research before purchasing the Pioneer. But at the end of the day, I figured out a solution. I do still enjoy the sound. I mean, the direct live is awesome. The overall surround sound that I'm getting, right, with my height speakers and with the subwoofers calibrated is much better than what I was getting with the Marantz, but 8805A. But I got these other side quirks, right, going on where I'm unable to use both the Marantz and the McIntosh, for an external from an external amplifier perspective, and it is what it is. I am going to keep it until I can upgrade to a different processor in the future. All right, guys. So I just wanted to wrap this whole Pioneer thing up right here with my final thoughts and the final step, right, of the process, which was to hook up external amplification to the Pioneer and see how it sounds. It does sound great, but it's got some side quirks. So buyer beware. All right, guys. So I will see you guys in the next one. In the meantime, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video.